lit night. Suddenly, the engine lost control and plunged over the side into the swamps below.
Why does Thomas the Tank Engine and dark, supernatural, sometimes real horror stories mix so well with it? When I watch Thomas content, especially the original stories and plots written by some of the biggest creators out there, it usually falls under the categories of dark, disturbing, realistic, and melancholic. But why does this work? Why do all these factors work with something like Thomas the Tank Engine? Well, we're going to explore that today in this video. Now, I'm not the only one that has chimed in on this weird addiction. Thomas I, Edward II, Henry III had made a video on this about a year ago, where he goes on to voice his favorite scary story in recent times, and how this scary genre somehow works with this sentient train utopia, where everything originally is supposed to be fluffy and dipped in chocolate. But instead, people go for the darker and more disturbing factors of it. You know why Thomas horror works in fan creations? Because the show did it already. The CGU series don't count here. It's just about the model series. The model series had no issue playing with tone in the stories, and sometimes they really upped the drama and theatrical appeal to it with music and visuals. Whenever someone mentions the ghost train or Duncan gets spooked, or even Donald saying Stepney from Scrap, or Toby almost going over a dam and dying, the makers of the show really upped the creative and theatrical factor to 1,000. The music is good, the visuals are beautifully crafted, and it keeps you on the edge of your seat. The show wasn't afraid to play with tone and get real sometimes. They also weren't afraid to cover topics like death, where in this case, to any steam locomotive, death means scrap, which is the unfortunate demise of all locomotives, both diesel and steam, if they aren't preserved. Great episodes that cover that in the original series are Stepney Gets Lost, Saved from Scrap, Escape, and Rusty to the Rescue. Then there's the straight-up episodes that have the supernatural and spooky elements that us horror movie lovers and chill seekers enjoy. Percy's Ghostly Trick, Duncan Gets Spooked, Haunted Henry, and Rusty and the Boulder. All of these spooky stories had some of the best soundtracks as well, to play up the scary aspect. I think the Ghost Train theme song is up there with horror pieces like the Halloween theme song and the Nightmare on Elm Street theme song. But how does fan content compare to the originals? And I'm going to say this, and I might get in hot water because of saying this. I think the fan creations are even better than the original licensed products of Thomas. In fan adaptations, there's no boundaries for how far we push the envelope in the spook factor and the darkness factor. My discovery into Thomas horror content started with Victor Tanzig's Ghost episode in his Stories of Sodor series. Then it evolved into the Buried Truck stories being adapted. Notable ones by notable channels include Left Behind, A Chill in the Air, Trouble in a Tunnel, and Farquhar Haunts. Richard Jordan also wrote some really great scary stories that have been adapted. Richard Jordan, known as Scarloey123 on YouTube, wrote The Half Engine, A Part of Me Stayed Behind, James's Discovery, Thomas and Timothy, Cursed Coaches, and Toby's Ghost. But if you had to ask me what is the most elaborate and creative Thomas horror series, I would tell you it's The Ghost of Howland Lake, put out as a short miniseries or even a full movie by the Blue Snowplow. Holy fucking shit, does this have a lot in it. Frightening and beautifully crafted visuals, a tragic and terrifying story, and deep and melancholic storytelling. It has everything that makes it a thrilling experience all around, and you'll be glued to your seat waiting to see how this ends. Seeing as how this subject has come up a lot more often now than it did just 10 years ago, why are we obsessed with these kinds of stories? Well, besides the obvious factor of loving horror in general, I think it's a euphoric feeling. Like, I get into this relaxed and calm state of mind where everything else going on does not bother me or stress me out when I'm watching this kind of content. It's an escape from reality for a while, and I think a lot of people need that little escape from their lives every now and then. I could be watching these Thomas horror stories and then fall asleep while they're still playing on my phone or on the TV, and it's like this, I really am gonna get criticized for this, but it's like a high I get. I don't know. It's weird to really put a physical and emotional feeling into words, especially when you can't really describe it at all. I've talked about some large creators' creations when it comes to these factors, but I also gotta talk about one-off smaller creators that have adapted their own originally written stories into these darker Thomas stories. One of my new favorites in recent times is one called Peaceful Viaduct by the Broken Wall channel, which is a mysterious and beautifully shot horror story. And it isn't predictable with the stereotypical scary elements like jump scares. It's just really just terrifying visuals, and that's it. There's no stereotypical jump scares. There's a pretty big lack of music throughout it. It's really just an atmospheric horror story, and it keeps you on the edge of your seat because you don't know when it's going to take you off guard.
Help! Help! Help me!
Something's not right.
Somebody! Help me!
This
Help!
doesn't...
Help! Help me! Somebody! Help me! Help! Help me! Somebody! Help me!
Before I end this video, I just want to say that other great horror adaptations by small creators include the Forest Horror series by Daylight 3, and Renee's Productions has released quite a few originally written horror videos like The Yellow Engine and Stanley's Stalker. But in reality, all of them give me the same emotional and physical feeling of euphoria. And for some reason, this whole idea of sentient trains living and working on an island together, while also dealing with the harsh realities of the real world, such as scrap. Yeah, there really is no correct answer or a full-on explanation for why these factors work with something like Thomas. It's just a feeling we all have to enjoy and take into account, while at the same time treating it as a great escape from the harsh reality.